Hello everyone, this is Derek Patrick with King March Chess Educators. Instead of taking a rated game, like I've done in my past videos, I'm going to take a internet game from the website Internet Chess Club, or for short, ICC. It's pretty much the best chess interface to play chess on, because there's a lot of GMs and other titled players that you can play against. Okay, so this was a 15-minute game in 15, online, and I was white. My rating on there was about 2,000 at the time, and I was playing on 2100, so my opponent as black was 100 points higher than me. Game in 15. The point of this game is to teach you a three-step process that was started by one of the chess history's former world champions, Wilhelm Steinitz. He invented a three-step process of how to convert a position of the bishop pair versus the knight pair, and I will explain the phases throughout. So, knight d4, knight f6, c4, e6. I'm playing white. Knight f3, bishop b4, check. Normally you can block with bishop d2, but I played knight bd2, b6, g3, bishop b7, bishop g2, castles, queen c2, d6, castles. And now, for some reason, he doesn't play like knight bd7 or rook e8 or queen e7 or a5 or c5, some other like developing move. He just plays bishop takes d2, giving up the bishop pair. Bishop takes d2, and then the typical plan is to play like knight into e4 followed by f5. This is a really annoying system to play against. But he didn't play knight e4, he played bishop e4, which attacks my queen. Queen b3, knight bd7, bishop h3, because I don't want to exchange my light squared bishops, but I do want to move my knight away from f3. And here again, he just plays bishop takes knight, giving up his other bishop. Maybe he thought I had to take back with the pawn, but my queen's over here, so I play queen takes f3. Now it's bishop pair versus knight pair, but I'll pause in a couple moves. c5, e3, queen c7, rook a to c1 to x-raise queen, and rook a to e8. So this is interesting. Black's freely given up both of his bishops for white's knights. White has the bishop pair, black has the knight pair. There's only one really like central tension. All of the pawns are still on the board. And knights prefer closed positions, because then there's very few holes if it's all closed up, and the knights can hop around in through those holes. Whereas bishops prefer an open board, because they can transfer from one side of the board and back very quickly in one move. Like all these light squares on the b1 to h7 diagonal, if there was a light squared bishop on that diagonal, I'd be controlling this whole diagonal with my bishop. So, I continue with b4, because like I said, bishops prefer open positions. So I want to open up over here. e5, b takes c, d takes c, d5. Because now I have a powerful passed pawn. He has no pawn on the d file anymore, and it's protected. Protected passed pawns are pretty much the best pawns that you can achieve in a game. Rook e7, e4. Okay, so pause here. Step 1, according to Wilhelm Steinitz, I quote, "Deprive knights of outposts." That's what he said. The only outpost that that black has ideally with a knight is if it was on d4, because it's covered by both the pawns, and then it's hitting like all these light squares around it. But the only way to get a knight to d4 would be through b5, c6, e6, or f5 first. It has to touch one of those 4 squares to get to d4, but my 3 pawns right here in the center are guarding all 4 of those squares. So I've achieved step 1 of depriving the knights of outposts. Also, it can't come to h5 to f4 because I have g3 played. And if he does outpost a knight over on b4, I don't mind because it's not really doing anything then. So he plays knight e8. Knights are also really good in front of passed pawns. It's the best piece you can have in front of a passed pawn, because it would be attacking the 2 pawns that are covering the pawn. So knight e8, bishop g5. Knight d to f6. He didn't want to play f6 because then it opens more holes for my bishop to attack. Rook c to d1. And here, like I said, you want to play knight d6 and put the piece in front of it. But then I can take twice on f6, and he loses a pawn and his king is wide open then. So he plays queen d6 to put another cover on f6 and stop d6. Now I play bishop f5. This is part 2 of the 3-step process. And I quote from Wilhelm Steinitz, "Make provocative bishop moves to poke holes into the enemy camp." So bishop f5 really isn't doing anything because my queen isn't like attacking h7. And even so, I could take his knight, he takes back with the other knight, and it's still covering h7. But for some reason, after bishop f5, he plays h6, which opens holes. So now, I want to keep the bishop pair, so I come back with bishop c1. He plays king h8. Not really sure what he was preparing, maybe knight g8 or rook g8. And I play queen g2, because I want to open the position more. Now I can advance f4. And here, black makes a mistake with g6. He must have forgot that I retreated my bishop back there. My bishop is under attack, but this pawn on h6 is just hanging. So I take here. Bishop takes h6. If he does play pawn takes bishop, white will win this rook and this rook, because it'll be skewered to the queen. So basically, if black plays pawn takes bishop, white will win both of black's rooks and lose both of his bishops, and white will have a huge advantage. So he can't do that. So after bishop h6, now he's down a pawn. He plays knight g7. I retreat my bishop back to h3. Knight g8, attacking my other bishop. And I bring it back to c1 a second time, returning back to its home. f6, f4. That's the whole reason why I played queen g2 several moves ago, to break through with f4 and open the position more. Rook e to f7, because he's anticipating that I'm going to take, and he takes with the pawn, and his rooks are on the open file then. But I play g4. I'm just pushing more and more to gain space and open the position. Knight e7, queen g3, puts more pressure on this diagonal, and also gives me the option of this in-between check move in maybe a sequence of tactics. E takes f4, and now my bishop comes out again. Bishop takes f4, attacking his queen. Queen d8, And at this point, white is more than winning. It's just a matter of preference how you want to win in this position. So, Queen H4 check, King G8, G5, F5. So, step 3 of Wilhelm Steinitz, and I quote, "Open the position for the bishops." That's step 3. So, I first deprived his knights. Second, I made provocative moves, and he had played like H6, G6, and then third phase, now the position's opening. I didn't exchange on F5 because that would make all his pieces like really active then. I just played E5. And now I have 2 central pawns about to attack in his position. E5, Rook E8. There's really nothing black can do but shuffle his pieces around, but he really should be playing A6, B5 and creating counterplay, transferring his rooks over to the B file or the A file to try and invade and create counterplay. Instead, he's just making defensive move after defensive move and letting white have a free hand at an attack. I can take my time all day to set up how and when I'm going to attack. So I play E6. He has to play Rook F8. And now I play Bishop E5. A better move order would be Queen H6 first, followed by Bishop E5, attacking Queen takes G7 mate. But I played Bishop E5. He can play Knight H5 to stop my queen from getting in. That's why that move order is better. He plays Knight C8. And now I play Queen H6 to threaten Queen takes Knight checkmate. Rook E7. D6 is definitely good here because I have 2 pieces on it, so you can't take. And if he plays Rook takes pawn, then his Rook is no longer guarding this square, and I can play Queen takes Knight checkmate. And if the Rook moves over, say, then I can come here and fork these 2 pieces and make him sack his knight for the 2 pawns. But then mate will still be hanging. So D6 could have won really quickly. Instead, I played Bishop F6. So, I'm not really trying to win the exchange, I'm just invading with more pieces. He plays Knight D6. Finally, he gets Knight D6 in to stop that pawn, but it's far too late. Bishop G2. Like I said, there's no rush. There is another way to win here, though. You can play Rook F4 to H4, and then just Queen H8 mate, because the pawn's guarding the flight square. I could have just Rook lifted up and over, but I played Bishop G2, just in case he would play something like Knight E4 to attack this bishop, and I would just snap his knight off if he does do that. And now I open the possibility of lifting either Rook up to the 3rd file, the 3rd rank, and swinging over to the H file. So Bishop G2, Queen E8, and instead of Rook lift up and over, I come up with a creative way to win with H4. Now he plays A6, way late. H5, so I basically force him to take the pawn. If he doesn't, I'm going to take the pawn with mine. So he takes, G takes H5, and then G6. And this is it, because now there's no way out of checkmate. If Rook takes Bishop, Queen H7, King F8, Queen H8 mate. If the knight moves, like say Knight takes E6, then Queen H8 is mate. And if he doesn't do anything, then Queen H7 is mate immediately. Thank you for watching, and there will be more videos with King March Chess Educators.